Brett Favre.
New text messages show the pressure former NFL quarterback Brett Favre was putting on then Mississippi Governor Phil Bryant. Favre requested money for an indoor football practice facility.
We know the case.
NFL Hall of Famer Brett Favre is facing questions tonight of whether he knowingly took $5 million of state welfare money to build a new volleyball facility for his daughter's team 5 years ago at her university and his alma mater.
We know the major players.
It shows that Brett Favre asked the head of a nonprofit handling welfare funds, quote, "If you were to pay me, is there any way that the media could find out where it came from and how much?"
We know the allegations.
Essentially, the former Green Bay Packers legend is accused of being part of a scheme that funneled welfare funds to him and projects where he had a vested interest. However, Favre is not alone, as the state's largest ever public corruption case involves the misappropriation of more than $77 million intended for the Temporary Assistance for Needy Families program.
He has sued this guy.
Brett Favre was introduced to these people who had control over the welfare fund and over the nonprofit part of the Mississippi government funds.
And after his lawyer talked a big game.
I guarantee you the jury in Mississippi will make certain he learns how to apologize. It's going to cost Pat McAfee millions of dollars. And if it bankrupts him, then he will have learned his lesson about you don't try to promote yourself by inappropriately and improperly attacking somebody else. He's gonna learn a lesson the hard way.
Wow.
This happened.
I am pleased to report that based solely on me again clarifying these points now, with no settlement paid, Brett is withdrawing his suit against me.
Then he sued this guy.
We got a tip in that suggested that the director of the Department of Human Services was misdirecting money and potentially involved in an embezzlement scheme.
Mississippi State Auditor Shad White.
We've seen a ton of welfare money that's intended for the poorest folks here in the state of Mississippi flowing to people who just simply did not need it.
There was a period, clearly, where powerful people were benefiting from TANF funds here in the state of Mississippi.
Who has been outspoken on the topic.
The first time that I knew that Brett Favre had some sort of intersection with our investigation was when an investigator walked into my office and he said, "I need you to watch this video."
State Auditor Shad White led the investigation.
It was a video of Mr. Favre promoting Prevacus's product, which was a nasal spray that was designed to prevent concussions. And my first question was, what does this have to do with welfare money? And the investigator's answer was exactly, what does it have to do with welfare money?
Incredibly, this person.
It is the 1-year anniversary of the Supreme Court decision to overturn Roe versus Wade. And our next guest, Mississippi Attorney General Lynn Fitch, represented her state in the Dobbs versus Jackson case that overturned Roe. And she joins us now. Lynn, it's so great to have you.
Mississippi Attorney General Lynn Fitch would get involved in the case, which appears to be out of spite for Auditor White. AJ Perez of Front Office Sports would go on to report an outside law firm was handling the welfare scandal case, not Fitch and her office, which was quite a surprising twist, if I do say so myself. Essentially, they would let Shad White fend for himself. Now, the reason that Fitch may want to let White fend for himself is because possibly, via Perez, when Fitch learned White was writing a book on the scandal, she pulled AG lawyers from defending White in his defamation suit brought by Brett Favre. White's own lawyers in his office are serving as his counsel. Pretty interesting. How about this guy?
Typical white conservative male that's stuck in his own little world that doesn't give a damn about anything that doesn't impact him.
NFL Hall of Famer Shannon Sharpe. Well, in October of 2023, USA Today would go on to report that a federal judge dismissed Favre's defamation suit against Shannon Sharpe when he was with FS1. The former tight end accused the former quarterback of, quote, taking from the underserved and said he, quote, stole money from people that really needed that money as part of the humongous public corruption case, not just with Favre and others allegedly taking money from the poorest in the country, but the poorest in the union. Favre was ticked, all right? He did not agree with this being thrown out. and he wanted to continue trying to go on offense. But like his career has shown, reflecting his football career, he had another unforced error and embarrassed himself. From Mississippi Today, on Monday, the United States Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals rejected a request by Favre to resurrect a defamation suit against Shannon Sharpe, who said on his September 14, 2023 show that the former Southern Miss and Packers QB stole funds from the Temporary Assistance for Needy Families government program meant for those living in poverty. Michael McCann is a really good writer that has worked for many outlets, including Sports Illustrated in their heyday. He now writes for Sportico. Judge Leslie Southwick reasoned that Sharpe was simply offering strongly stated opinions about a widely reported welfare scandal. McCann's piece would go on. Southwick, in an opinion joined by Judges Kyle Duncan and Jeremy Comodal stressed that while Starrett tossed the case on grounds of Sharpe's comments were rhetorical hyperbole, the Fifth Circuit sees a different rationale for siding with the tight end. His statements were protected opinions that were based on disclosed materials, including in news reports. McCann writes of another wrinkle, and I cannot believe this. Southwick noted that Sharpe made an incorrect statement about Favre having not repaid an additional $1.1 million in temporary assistance for needy families funds. But Skip Bayless, of all people, corrected the statement on the air to say that Favre had repaid the amount, except for the interest, which was true. Bayless also stressed that Favre, quote, has not been criminally charged. McCann would lay out the case that in some aspect, Sharpe could thank Bayless for correcting him, though I still believe the ruling of strongly worded statements based on news reports would remain as fact, take precedent, and this case would be thrown out again. Let me just also say this. Having covered the Brett Favre scandal from the beginning, along with many other media members, it is rather shocking. And I understand that if litigation is ongoing, that you don't want to criminalize yourself by giving interviews, potentially with people that could get you caught in a bind. But him going on Newsmax and with Eric Bolling, who he hosted a podcast with before all this came out, where he said that he thought Derek Chauvin did not mean to intentionally kill George Floyd. Idiotic statement, among many others on the Bowling for Favre podcast. He will go on Fox News. He will go on The Blaze. He will go on all these other networks, except for those that will question him and those that will remain objective. So I would like to bring him on, not with counsel, not with a publicist, not with a PR person, just him. I welcome him. He will not do it because he knows what will happen when there is somebody, whether it is me, whether it is ABC News, whether it is other outlets, it doesn't matter. Anyone who's trying to uncover the truth, he knows that he is not up for it. He is not game. Another note, he keeps putting out these tweets that I have to believe is simply trying to drive up engagement because he probably is in the creator program with X, is my opinion. And it's all, as we have seen from the Tim Pools and the N wokeness and all those other crappy individuals on the platform that has flat out destroyed it at Musk's behest. Engagement drives revenue. He's putting out really what I feel like is, clickbaity and engagement tweets like this. But if we were to just try to dissect this, we know of his history. We know of the allegations against him. We know through text messages from the journalists like Anna Wolf at Mississippi Today, the Clarion Ledger, others, and how he was, it appears, involved in this scheme, that Actually, one of the most American things is taking care of your fellow Americans, not taking advantage of them. This whole pickup truck nonsense reminds me of when he was sold as the good old American boy in Wrangler jeans. The problem is the jig is up, Brett. The jig is up. The act is up. We know who you are. We know the company you keep. We know the character that you possess. And it is simply as un-American as it could possibly get. That is what you have shown us. That's who you are. If you can and are willing, please become a paid member here at TYT Sports. And or go to tyt.com/join. In addition, you can follow me on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. Appreciate it. Have a great day.